2024 was an interesting year for anime, for better or worse. Manhwa had another big breakout anime. Get Out of Your Tower of God. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about Solo Leveling, the apex predator of overpowered protagonists. Having read the entire series, I forgot just how long it takes to get to pure cinema. It was never boring, but having started to get season 2 injected into my veins, it pales in comparison to the peak in that season. Speaking of boring, I went to the movies to watch Demon Slayer's new bundle of episodes in theaters, and somehow they managed to make 90 minutes feel like 3 hours. I watched a lot of worse movies in 2024, but none were quite as boring as Demon Slayer, deciding to give us 1 episode of the finale and then 2 episodes of an entire season dedicated to 10 chapters. But at least every episode looked polished, unlike Uzumaki that reminded us that all horror manga Junji Ito has written are cursed to have bad anime adaptations. Stylistically, it was interesting, but fell victim to lofty ideals in an anime industry that is becoming much more evident how flawed it is. Or take Whisper Me a Love Song, a fantastic Yuri manga that is generational levels of bad production. My dear friend Nokotan's production didn't fall apart, but it fell off harder than the cliffhanger ending of Dandadan Season 1. The PV for Nokotan made it seem like chaos incarnate, but let's take a look at the discourse around the series by the end of the season. And with that, welcome to the first annual Hagita Anime Awards. Thank you, Rayquaza. Always glad to have a loyal fan in the audience. What's that? Do you think everyone should subscribe? Why, what a good friend you are, Rayquaza. You never fail to let me down. I completed 25 anime in 2024 and somehow only dropped Nokotan. I was eating good with a lot of new favorites and old favorites getting new seasons. Dungeon Meshi got an anime that I somehow didn't get around to despite loving the manga. Granted, that was mostly because I didn't have Netflix until Arcane came out, and then a certain Orb anime hooked me. 2024 was a year of surprising new anime for me. I walked out of the year with several shows that I was only vaguely interested in, but ended up becoming a huge fan of by the end of the season. But for now, let's cut to the chase and get to hearing about my favorite anime of 2024. I went into Windbreaker expecting Tokyo Revengers, but I was utterly blown away by Windbreaker. For a series that is solely predicated on fights between characters, the character work in the series was incredible. I'm an avid lover of the whole fight as a conversation idea, and Windbreaker is just that notion distilled into its purest form. I didn't expect the Sakura and Togami fight to have me in tears, but it was heart-wrenching to watch. Windbreaker is such a simple series, but it wears its heart on a sleeve in a way that was so refreshing. Sometimes you just have to beat the life out of someone in order to convey your emotions, and once all the blood is returned to my head from my gauntlet of a series, I realized I truly enjoyed every second of it, and I'm eagerly awaiting Season 2 and watching more of a new favorite tsundere lead. Well folks, I hate to tell you, this is probably the highest Oshi no Ko will ever reach. Having read the entire manga and been on the wild ride that the finale was, watching Season 2 felt like an entirely different story. The creative drives and intricacies of the Tokyo Blade arc are the highlight of this series for me, and the direction of the anime only solidified it as the best arc in the series. I'll generally love any story that deals with creating art and the intricacies involved in that, but Oshi no Ko Season 2 veers a lot harder into the murderer plot in the back half, and that definitely hampers it, even if it is the main point of the series that I just don't vibe with as much. Oshi no Ko is never a truly bad series. At worst, it's very silly, but it peaks here for me. The only place I could see it gaining points in the future is if they somehow make an even better OP. I thought Idol couldn't be beat, but then Fatal won me over, so at the very least, I'll be back next season for what is almost certainly going to be another banger opening. Shangri-La Frontier is one of my new favorite anime. It is everything I wanted from Sword Art Online, aka it's actually just a video game, and admittedly one that looks like it would be incredibly fun to play. Sunraku is a fantastic protagonist that sells the whimsy and fun of the world in a way that makes me want Shangri-La Frontier as a real game more and more. The action in the series is consistently super entertaining, while also being electric and balancing a very intricate fights, while still making it engaging to watch and relatively simple to follow. The Weathermon fight was a highlight because there was so much happening, and yet it never felt truly cluttered. The character dynamics are also a highlight because they have such an interesting banter with each other, but are still basically in sync when they need to lock in and beat a boss. The way they're seemingly constantly bantering and poking fun at each other is such a blessing that makes each scene with them feel playful, even if they're all trying to do information warfare on each other somehow. If I can include Season 2 of Shangri-La Frontier, it surpasses Frieren, but as it stands, Frieren was a big surprise for me, aside from the fact that it's the video that has the most views on my channel by a good margin. The world of Frieren is what won me over. Who am I kidding? It's because of Uwill. I mean, how can you not love her? She's just magic Kenpachi Zaraki and is just as hot as him. I love anime with interesting power systems, and the way Frieren integrates it with the world at large is exactly my type of thing. And then adding in wild cards like Ubil only makes me love it more. Frieren is constantly such a fun series that balances giving me cool magic stuff while also having a very fun cast of characters who have somehow activated the fan artists to create some truly incredible works that I definitely cannot show on YouTube. Every series should have an Ubel type character for a multitude of reasons, but especially because her presence elevates Frieren a ton by just being her fun, quirky self. If I had seen bottom tier character Tomozaki when I was in high school, it absolutely would have changed my life. However, even despite that, it's still such a solid series. It's good enough to make me feel physically uncomfortable multiple times because of the dicey high school dynamics, but also makes me feel very good when a character is growing of their own accord and really blossoming into their own. Seeing Tomozaki and several other characters really grow into their own characters was so rewarding, and to see the series playing with its own premise and really forcing itself to challenge it is so fascinating and a good sign of things to come. The original author also worked on Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night, and Tomozaki clears that by a wide margin. Granted, Girls Band Cry also clears Jellyfish, so that's not saying as much as it probably could. Regardless, bottom tier character Tomozaki Season 2 continued to sneak under the radar, but it continues to be such a special series. Bang Brave, Bang Bravern is a truly special series that comes every once in a while where you can tell no one was ever told no, and that's amazing. Sometimes you get series that fall under the weight of its ambition, and other times you get Bravern, the most explicitly gay mecha show I've ever seen. Bravern is so unabashedly itself that I can't help but love it. Every character is so odd, but in the best way possible. Bravern is one of those shows that is best experienced blind, so I'll try to stay away from spoilers, but it is this high on my list for being an entirely original work. Best believe it is absolutely worth every second of your time. I mean, just look at the ending. 2024 was the year I came around on My Hero Academia. I thought it was a series of high highs and low lows, but after binging the anime on a road trip, I fell in love with the series all over again. The overarching plot of My Hero Academia won me over with the story of acceptance and owning the flaws of a society, but still working to change them. Season 7 in particular is a highlight because it is the series firing on all cylinders to answer the questions it sets up so early in the story. The animation was stellar throughout, and they delivered on every character moment in spades. It's the best part of the series that got everything it could have wanted and more, so naturally I loved every second of it, and I absolutely cannot wait for the final season. It is a miracle that One Piece fanletter exists and is incredible as it is. The purest distillation of all the love everyone has for One Piece told entirely through characters we have never seen before and probably won't ever see again in any meaningful capacity. Every facet of the series is intertwined together to make it a genuine feat of animation and storytelling as a whole. I'm a One Piece fan, but in the moment it felt like every level of One Piece fan, from the power scalers to the theorists to everything in between, just stood in awe of the artistic achievement that is One Piece fanletter. I would take a million more stories like these, and please, for the love of God, give Ishitani whatever she wants, because she's one of the brightest minds working in the industry right now. Every week that Sound Euphonium aired, I was left on the edge of my seat wondering how it would end, and every time I would be impressed and emotionally wrung out by the end. And yet somehow, by the time the series ended, everything made sense and left me with a deep catharsis. It was a very realistic ending that somehow felt entirely natural for the series. There are so few series doing character work and direction like Sound Euphonium. It's rare to find so many different characters who clash in such organic ways, while also being entirely understandably like they are. Every conflict makes sense, even if it is still frustrating. The finale of the series may not have been what everyone wanted, but I left the series feeling like the answers had met my expectation. It was different than what I expected, but different doesn't mean bad. In fact, I quite like the direction the series decided to take with the ending, because it feels like something we don't see as often, but is still used in some really interesting ways for Kumiko and various other characters' development. I'll miss Sound Euphonium, but I can rest easy knowing it had an incredible adaptation from start to finish. Before I reveal my favorite anime of 2024, I wanted to give out some fun awards to various other anime of 2024 because why not? First, we have the biggest surprise of 2024, which goes to Orb on the Movements of the Earth, which fell victim to what happens to at least one anime on Netflix every season, in that they just don't market it at all. It just exists and you find out of it purely through word of mouth. I had heard quite literally nothing about the series before someone on Twitter said it was good, and then once I got Netflix for Arcane, I went, maybe I'll watch this, and I fell in love instantly. It's a rare series that feels like it's in its own lane, doing its own thing, but doing it so well that people who find it inevitably fall in love with it. It's a 2-core series, so it's technically not eligible for the rankings according to my own rules, but I figure I can use my small platform to do what Netflix hasn't done and shill a fantastic series that you all should watch. On the flip side, if it wasn't obvious by the several jabs I've taken it already, my biggest disappointment of 2024 was Shikanoko Noko Noko Koshitan Tan. The trailer had such a chaotic energy that I was excited to see unfold, but by episode 3 I felt my brain smoothing over. The show just really wasn't that funny, but it was also just boring. The main joke got old quickly, and when most of the jokes just ended up being embarrassing Koshi, I was just over it. There are less funny series out there, but the vibe of the trailer was completely gone, and it somehow managed to be the only series I dropped in 2024. Many other shows were put on hold, but they never bothered me enough to say, no, I don't think I'm coming back to this later. And now, without further ado, let's reveal my favorite anime of 2024. I genuinely cannot separate Look Back and Haikyuu Battle of the Coverage Dump from first place. The instant I finished Look Back, there was never been a moment where they didn't share the gold spot. They're such incredible films, but in entirely different ways. Battle of the Garbage Dump is a movie I watched 7 times in 2024 because Haikyuu is my favorite piece of fiction ever created, and Look Back is a film that deeply moved me in every aspect of its existence. To begin with Haikyuu, the Karasuno Neko match might be my favorite match of the series because it is such a joyous match. It's 2 teams who are just having an absolute blast playing volleyball with each other. It's such a testament to one of the main themes of the series of always sticking with your passions and wanting the fun of life to never end. And then there's the Hinata-Kenma dynamic in the film, which is absolutely incredible, and they did entirely justice. Hinata's shout of joy at Kenma saying he's having fun playing volleyball had me bawling my eyes out every single time, and gets me emotional just thinking about it. Ayumu Murase's voice acting there conveys the sheer depth of happiness spilling out of Hinata's soul, and it was just too peak to have it anywhere other than first place. But then there's Look Back, which is a pure testament to the power of art in every facet possible. Despite the short runtime, it moved every fiber of my being. Seeing it in theaters had me crying for the entirety of the credits, but the entire movie moved me. There's something so special to me about stories that can so clearly convey the joys of creating art, whether it be the personal drive of getting better at your craft or the heavenly feeling of having someone praise your art. The film, having an interview with most of the people involved in the film after it, really helped cement the passion behind the piece that only reinforces the soul-nurturing nature of creating art, whether it be for yourself, others, or anything in between. Battle of the Garbage Dump and Look Back can stand alongside each other because both fill me with intense emotions, but also really remind you why life is worth living. To get to experience stories like Haikyuu or Look Back and to be moved by them is one of the best parts of life, because ultimately nothing can quite compete with experiencing some peak fiction. And that's 2024 wrapped up. What a year it was. The channel reached 650 subscribers as 2025 began, and it's looking to be an interesting year for anime. There are more than a few standouts, but I'm particularly excited to be surprised by some new shows. I'm caught up on a lot more series that are getting animations, but I'm excited for all the new series I can experience too. I'm already loving the new season of Shangri-La Frontier, and I can't wait to see the Chainsaw Man movie. So let me know what 2025 anime you're excited to see, and I shall see you next year when we run the awards back for all the anime that aired in 2025.